Hello, my name is Fayter. I'm an executive coach and a corporate trainer. My area of specialty is around teaching people how to communicate effectively and engage their staff and engage their clients. So I want to share some stuff with you today about how to create some habits, especially for your initial consultation with a client, but ones that hopefully that you can carry on through all of your relationship with your client and then have that client for life in a long-term relationship so that it's a good earner for you and it's a good result for them as well. So one key thing to know around communication is that people don't care what you know until they know that you care. So you could be the best trainer in the world, you could know all about physiology, you could know all about diet and nutrition, but unless your client feels cared for, feels loved, they're going to leave. They're not going to stick around for the long haul. We know that around 68% of people will leave a service industry as clients if they don't feel listened to and if they don't feel cared for and appreciated. So the first thing I want you to do, the first habit I'd like you to get into is to make eye contact with people, with your clients, and smile. The eye contact thing lets them know that that they're being listened to and that you're paying attention to them. So especially while that person is talking to you, make eye contact. It's so easy if you're setting up some gym equipment or if you're going through paperwork to look away whilst you're talking to them. You may be listening and your best intention may be with you, but the client doesn't necessarily know that. They need to know that, and you do that by making eye contact. By smiling as well, what that does, it triggers off the happy areas of their brain. So it puts them in a good mood. So making eye contact and smiling is a crucial thing. The next thing I wanted to talk about is, or a key point is that people like themselves. The old adage that opposites attract isn't true. And people like people who are like themselves. We know this by when you watch people who are getting on really, really well, they do the same kind of things. They'll talk in a similar kind of way and they'll gesture and move in similar ways also. So the skill here is one of mirroring and matching. So an example of mirroring would be if you're talking to your client and your client sits with their head just to one side a little bit like this. So as you're looking at me, I've got my head towards my right shoulder. So what you would do in order to mirror this position would be to put your head towards your left shoulder. And it looks as though there would be a mirror between us and that you're the mirror image of me. What this does, it creates a sense of rapport, it creates a sense of oneness, that we are getting on and that we have a lot in common. Matching a person's gestures and movements as well is quite crucial. So for instance, if a person talks and uses a particular gesture, when you reply back to them, talk and use that gesture as well. It punctuates what they're saying because this is part of their communication in showing you and demonstrating what they're thinking and how they're processing information. So if I was doing this as a client, when you would start to talk back to me, you would mirror this. So I'm using my right hand, you would use your left. So this is mirroring. Matching would be doing exactly the same kind of thing, but with the opposite hand. So if I use my hand, you would use your right hand. Other things around mirroring and matching would be around where the person is leaning. So for instance, if a person talks and they lean into you, as you're listening and you notice that, okay, when you talk back to them, you lean in as well. Be careful not to mimic, because mimicking can be very detrimental to the relationship. So mirror and match what your client is doing just to a degree and wait for a little bit of time to pass before you do it. If your client is making this gesture, don't do this gesture at the same time. Wait until after they've finished talking and they put their hand down, and then when you start talking back to them, you'll start using the same gesture. So that is mirroring and matching. Also with mirroring and matching, be mindful of mirroring and matching, or pacing if you like, their tone of voice and the qualities of their voice. So the tone of voice would be the sound that their voice makes, whether it's a high pitch, a low pitch, that kind of thing. Also the speed of their voice and the volume of their voice. So if you're sitting down with a client and the client's speaking quite slowly and quite softly, as a coach, if you started talking to them really fast and really loud, it's going to create what we call an incongruence, so there's going to be a mismatch. So be mindful of adjusting the volume, the pitch, the tone of your voice to match theirs. Again, don't mimic. So don't try and put on their accent, just use the qualities, the pace, the volume, etc. So here's a couple of tips that I want you to do after this video with everybody that you're talking to, especially your clients. Make eye contact and smile. Be mindful also of trying to stay on eye level with a person. So if a person is on a rowing machine, for instance, squat down so that you're more at their level when you're talking to them. And the other thing there is around mirroring and matching their behaviours and their gestures, and also the quality of their voice. So that's mirroring and matching. In the next video, we're going to move on to something a little more different. See you on the other side.